So, Konami is going to be releasing the new Flame Swordsman support. And today, we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about it. This strategy is pretty fun. It can play as a huge combo deck or a low to the floor control deck. And like I said before, I'm going to be letting you know everything you need to know about Flame Swordsman. Let's go ahead and jump on it. Flame Swordsman is a level 4 type fusion deck, I guess. It's a deck that centers around the new fighting Flame Swordsman. And basically what this card does is that if it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can add one spell or trap card that mentions Flame Swordsman from your deck to your hand. If it is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Flame Swordsman or one monster that mentions it from your extra deck or deck to the graveyard, and then you can only use each effect of Flame Swordsman once per turn. This is the most important card of the deck because not only does it allow you to get your Flame Swordsman spell and trap cards, it also allows you to be able to get Flame Swordsman cards into the graveyard, which is really, really important. Next is Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon. And this card says, while it is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, the equipped monster gains 700 attack. You can only use the following effects of Salamandra, the Flame Swordsman once per turn. If it's in your hand or graveyard, you can target one warrior monster and equip it with this card as an equipped spell. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Salamandra spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You can't wait to add Salamandra from your deck to your hand. Best card in the game. Gives a fire monster 700 attack, guys. You don't know what to do with it. It's just way too broken. But unfortunately, we don't play that. We get other Salamandra cards like Salamandra Fusion and Salamandra with Chain if you decide to play it. But let's stick on to the monsters for now. The last card is Mirage Swordsman. If a face-up fire fusion monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can spell summon this card from your graveyard or hand. Then if it battles an opponent monster, you can destroy both battling monsters. If this card is destroyed by battle or another card effect, you can special summon a level 7 monster that is Flame Swordsman or mentions it from your deck or extra deck. Really, really cool cards. As far as fighting Flame Swordsman, we know we play 3 of. The Salamandra, the Flying Dragon, is between 1 to 3 depending on your preference and your build. And a lot of players do not play Mirage Swordsman at all. But that's pretty much it for the main deck monsters in this deck. You can go multiple routes with this particular strategy. One is playing the Infernal cards, which just so happen to also be Fire Warriors, and makes this deck a little bit more combo-y. Summoning Infernal Emperor Charles to your side of the field. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull that up to you. This card gives you a destruction, but then you also can summon out Emperor Charles, which gives you negation and can equip regular Charles. And the best thing about it is that Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon, can equip to your Infernal monsters to be able to provide other effects. So definitely something that you could do. Or like I said before, you could play a low to the ground version. This deck is decently consistent. Keep in mind, you don't have to play all of the Infernal cards, but if you play Infernal Arms, Durandal here, you can add Fighting Flame Swordsman from your deck to your hand a little bit more reliable. And that card itself is searchable through a card called Heritage of the Chalice. So essentially, you can make this deck where it has roughly 10 ways to get into your Fighting Flame Swordsman, which is typically enough to be able to hold off or get into your combos, as well as hold off against a lot of the top meta decks. What I found is that pure Flame Swordsman with the 15 hand traps can hold its ground pretty much. And you can even go a little bit further and run more than 15 hand traps. Don't forget, Isolde isn't banned in Master Duel. Isolde, which is a card that probably deserves to be banned, is not banned in Master Duel, which can add Fighting Flame Swordsman, but also I think it warrants to probably even just play the Infernal build. And it's strictly because this card is just way too good to give up. What Flame Swordsman lacks is getting a consistent 2 bodies on the field, something that Infernal helps you do. So genuinely consider your options, as you can still do that combo-y-esque type deck. But if you're more like me and you love the anime and you love Joey Riller, you're probably sticking more to a hands to the ground. Another thing that I want to mention is that there is another card that Master Duel has that the TCG does not, and it's Flaming Tongue, the Blazing Magical Blade. This card is a Fire Warrior, which requires 2 fire monsters. And it says, face-up spell trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can target one of your banished fire monsters and add it to your hand. And if you do, you You cannot activate cards or effects for the rest of the turn. Now, the reason why I mentioned this card is because it is a fire warrior monster that just requires any 2 fire monsters, which means that if you do get off task by summoning cards like Salamandra the Flying Flame Dragon or your Fighting Flame Dragon and need to consolidate your deck back into a warrior mode, you can just link into this and then it can be used to link into Isolde and then so on and so forth. The next thing is also during the way it can get you one of your banished fire monsters back into your hand, which can be useful. Next is Fighting Flame Sword. This card is another 3 of. It says add 1 card from your deck to your hand that mentions Flame Swordsman except Fighting Flame Sword. So now you can have up to 12 ways, I think even 13 ways to get Fighting Flame Swordsman to your hand. With 3 copies of Chalice, 3 copies of Durandal, 3 copies of this, 3 copies of the Fighting Flame Swordsman itself, and reinforcement of the army, odds are you're going to be getting into this in your opening hand. It also has a second effect. When an attack is declared involving a fire warrior monster, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Pretty decent effect, just in case you don't want it or you already have the pieces you need. When your opponent activates the effect that targets a flame swordsman or a monster you mentioned it, you can negate that effect. So decent effects for a reinforcement of the army like Searcher card, and since it is a quick play spell, you can activate it in the draw phase to play around Joel and Lockbird. Easily a 3-up. Flame Sword's Realm says your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal summon a fire warrior monster. That effect is decent. It isn't amazing, but it's also nice to have. You can send 1 monster from your hand or face up to your field to the graveyard to spell summon 1 Flame Swordsman from your extra deck. It's treated as a fusion summon. Once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, and to the end of the turn, it loses exactly 1,000 attack. But all other monsters you control gain 1,000 attack. Really, really good. Now, this card can be used to be able to summon your boy, guys, Flame Swordsman. But oftentimes, it's probably going to be used to summon Ultimate Flame Swordsman, which requires Flame Swordsman and 1 Flame Fighting Dragon normally. It says, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack. This is a quick effect if it's an equipped spell card, so it does have benefit for playing with the Infernobles. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can double this card's attack into the end of the turn, but if you do, destroy it during the end phase. So that means that this guy can hit for a heavy amount of damage, chat, 5,600, which means that you can decide the game fairly fast. Also, it becomes a Zodiac Trident when it's equipped to a card. This is the main card that you are going to be summoning to your side of the field early and often through the effect of Flame Swords Realm. Now, Flame Swords Dance allows you to special summon, or if a monster is special summoned, you can special summon level 7 or lower fusion monster that is Flame Swordsman or mentions it. Then you can change 1 face-up monster on the field to face-down defense position. During your opponent's battle phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and tribute 1 face-down monster, special 1 Flame Swordsman, or 1 monster that mentions it from your deck or extra. This card is really, really good in pure builds. I would not play this in an Infernal build strictly because you don't need it. It's just really combo-y. Since the Flame Swordsman deck itself is very, very low to the ground, this is appropriate. But for the other ones, not really that good. This is one card that you don't have to play at all, even regardless of the build. It's like one of those 1-0 cards. Salamandra Fusion says, equip only to a fire warrior monster. It gains 700 attack, and if it will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. Then while it's equipped to a fusion monster, you can send this card to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon 1 Flame Swordsman, 1 fusion monster that mentions it from your extra deck. Pretty decent card, guys. It is Salamandra, but a little bit better. Lastly, is Salamandra with Chain, which says target 1 fire monster on the field, equip it to it as a equipped spell card, it gives it 700 attack. Then you can change 1 effect monster on the field to face down defense position. So you get the Salamandra-like effect, the Kunai with Chain-like effect, my apologies, from the anime, except you can flip it face down to prevent it from being linked or Exceed summoned, or any other place, right? You can also banish this card from your graveyard to fusion summon 1 fire warrior or 1 dragon fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling materials on the hand, field, or graveyard to the deck, which you destroy it during the end phase. Pretty solid effect. This is another one of those cards that if you're playing the Infernal version, you don't play this card. But if you're playing the low to the ground version, you can consider playing 1-0. The last card is Fighting Flame Dragon. And this card requires 1 dragon monster plus 1 fire warrior monster. So super polymerization alert, guys. And if you are playing the low to the ground build, anytime you summon a Flame Swordsman monster, you can get rid of cards like Cosmic Blazar Dragon for free. All you have to do is activate super polymerization, and you do have the room, except during the damage step. You can target one warrior fusion monster you control, equip this card from your field or graveyard to that monster as an equipped spell. You can only use the Fighting Flame Dragon once per turn. If this card is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, it gains 700 attack and can make a second attack during that battle phase. So if it equips itself to Ultimate Flame Swordsman and has another equipped spell card, Flame Swordsman can become 5,600, can inflict 500 damage if it destroys a monster, and can attack twice. Normally, enough for game. Overall, I think that these Flame Swordsman cards are going to be a very fun deck to play. I don't think that it's going to be powerful. It's not going to be the best deck in the game. It's not going to be game-changing, but for anime players, it's going to be a really, really fun deck to play. So if you want to play Flame Swordsman, it's pretty good. Now, I do want to show you guys the combo. This is what we have for a little base build that you guys could mess around with. There's obviously the 12 ways to get to the Fighting Flame Swordsman with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ways. The 10 is the Pot of Prosperity because that's obviously used. I didn't really want to prioritize going into a huge amount of ways because I wanted other cards. I wanted Ash, Effect Veiler, Maxi, and Master Duel, obviously, Super Polymerization and Infinite Impermanence for defensive cards. And I wanted this deck to be nice, fluid in getting into what it needs to do. As for the combo, you start off with Fighting Flame Sword. You add and summon the Flame Swordsman. You use the Flame Swordsman effect. You get Flame Swords Realm. Activate Flame Swords Realm. Send Fighting Flame Swordsman from your extra deck to the graveyard to summon out Ultimate Flame Swordsman and trigger Flame Swordsman's effect. You send the Salamandra, which triggers Salamandra's effect, guys. And here, if you guys are playing the Salamandra with Chain, you just go ahead and get the Salamandra with Chain. I'm not, so I'll be a goofball and get Salamandra Fusion. I probably should play the Salamandra with Chain at this point. And then you use the effect to be able to equip to your Ultimate Flame Swordsman. So in this combo with just one card, you have a 2,800 attack monster that is a Zodiac Trident. You'll have a Salamandra card to be able to follow up with. You can even equip it here, like if you wanted to use this effect to destroy one card, but still wanted to keep the equipping, right? You also have Flame Swords Realm, which means for the rest of the turn, when you summon, or throughout the duration, if you summon a warrior monster, your opponent can activate cards in response. So many different things can be done. If you're playing the Infernoble engine, it gets a little bit bigger. And the Metamorph engine that we're talking about, or that Bossman is talking about, in the, not this current set, not Rage of the Abyss, the next set, the Supreme Darkness, it actually does have Flame Swordsman support, so it could work. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, if you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out these videos. I can catch you on the next one.